Thank you very much indeed. I just wish to stall you 2 minutes, just 120 seconds. So first of all, thank you to having me here and for the invitation of the Excellency, but also this Excellency, all the Excellencies. I want to react, unfortunately he's not here, at the words of the President Vaclav, with 2 examples. There were a US president that for Europe is really, really important. That was Harry Truman. That at the end of his mandate, he returned to his hometown in Missouri, that was independence, right? And he didn't write his memories. He preferred to teach once a week music in a high school in Independence. Then we have his memories, because a journalist came there, and from hours and hours and hours of interview to him, we have now his memories. And he said something that was really interesting for a big state, the hugest state that we have, the United States, but also for the small countries. That was that when you sit in the Oval Office, you know that you are the most powerful man on earth, and your duty is also to have the privilege to convince the people and your citizens to do something they don't want to do, but that deep inside they know they have to do. For example, to pay tax. Who wants to pay taxes? At least, so I want because I'm educated in this sense. But so I'm not so happy when that's happened, okay? And leadership is not a fact to convince or to please the people or to pay them to do something. But it's just this art, to convince them to do something that they know is time to do. If I may, in a small country like Israel, I think that the real true leader will be the prime minister that will say to his people that it's time to concede 2 people and 2 countries. Because all the Israeli citizens that I know, friends of mine, but also the Palestinians, they know deep inside that the only solution of that mess is 2 countries, 2 people, but they don't want. But there will be a time in which we will have a leader, because nations are nothing without leaders. And let me say something about small countries. It's just last week that we lost an interesting leader and influencer in this sense. What about Pepe Mujica? He was president of a really small country, just the double of citizens in numbers than this country that hosts us. He was a real influencer. If you ask somebody, I was 3 weeks ago in Montevideo. And when I said that with some friend of me, I said, I was in Montevideo in Uruguay. Mujica, that of these fantastic speeches, and so on. This is a power of influence of a nation. When you come there, there is somebody that reflects the imaging of a nation, because he was elected by that nation that is grieving now. And in terms of identity, I stand with both of you about that, but remember that identity is something that is always ongoing. In the moment in which we fixed the identity, I think we repeat the original sin of the Bible. And as European, I was 2 weeks ago in Luxembourg. 48% of the residents in Luxembourg are foreigners, are not from Luxembourg. I was in a small town, the name is Dudelange, 20,000 citizens. At the beginning of the 20th centuries, at that time was 12 4,000 inhabitants. So they were there, they came there, exactly 4,000 Italians as a minors. Then during the 80s, last crisis, a bunch of Portuguese. The name of the mayor of Dudelange, the fourth city in terms of size in Luxembourg, is Biancalana, is totally Italian. Is what we call the second generation, now is mayor. The integration was possible there of a diversity with a state. And I think that we, because I call we as European, not European Union, but as European, we have this idea of diversity that is engraved in our identity, that is to be open to the diverse. Because we built our fortune in this way. We are Italian, and let's say, as a theologian, and I finish because I don't want to stall so much time, but as a theologian, I think that's maybe, I don't know if I can dare to interpret the mind of God, but he chose that small land for the incarnation. But after that, he asked the disciples, the apostles, to go to Rome. That was the empire at that time. That was the most diverse empire on earth, respecting the other culture, just asking them to pay taxes. That was. But they respect that a sort of independence. It was really interesting if you think about that. I close about my culture. My culture as Italian is really good. My identity, I'm not convinced about that. If I think of the carbonara, spaghetti alla carbonara, you know, right? If you come to Rome and you go to a restaurant and ask the host, the owner, about the story of this dish, he starts saying that the Emperor Nero was used to eat carbonara and so on. This is impossible, but it's okay. So carbonara was invented by the American army. It's not an Italian dish, okay? We just built a fantastic storytelling on this. Amazing storytelling. Was the ratio of the American army as eggs and bacon. Okay? And the American army arrived in Rome and put bacon and the eggs in a cacio e pepe. That was Roman. Okay? And carbonara born. But now if you come there, the Emperor Nero, he met an army, an US army, and invented the carbonara. So this is our identity. And it's full of example. We men, we are here with this Croata that is from Croatia, and this is the name, and we wear it also in America. Or when we go to sleep, we wear a pyjama. Pyjama is an Indian word, because in Europe, we men, and I don't know how it was so easy to change. Before the pyjama, we had this, I don't know how to call it. We call it pyjama maybe after. That's long sleeve and so on, to like a sausage in the bed, because if you try to wear that ancient pyjama before the real pyjama, was really uncomfortable to sleep with. So thanks to Indians and thanks to that empire that mix all the culture, we can wear it a pyjama and finally sleep well. So I think that from leadership to identity and small country, the responsibility is also on individuals, on leadership, on people, above all in this time, in this century, in which we have the capacity to have amplified our voice through social media, through television. I can understand the President Vaclav, but it's not that time anymore. This time is different, and medium is an act. So we can reason about that, and everything is possible. Absolutely, yes. You are right, Madam President. Sorry for the long speech. Sorry, but